Last issue, Wolverine and Rogue taken captive by the Genoshan government, stripped of their powers. The X-Men looking for their friends. Tensions within the Genoshan communities begin to come to a boil. This is Uncanny X-Men 237. All aboard the mutant train. I love this color and the use of perspective to show that they, coming at us, and we see Rogue, who is Carol Danvers at this point, and then Logan trying to just hang on for dear life, and the use of the letter and how the mutant train is just written is very kind of gross slur style. Who's human? This is Chris Claremont writing, Rick Leonardi doing the pencils, Terry Austin ink, Glynis Oliver doing the coloring, Bob DeFalco editor, and Tom DeFalco editor-in-chief. Now, Rogue gave up her mind to Carol Danvers to get him out of this pinch because Rogue does not have her power, so she's not quite sure how to protect herself because she's always used to being so on the defense and not being touched and being able to smack someone across the room with the powers of Captain Marvel. The Indian Ocean, east of Africa, just north of, I think that's Chalet's Island. If I'm wrong, feel free to make fun of me down in the comments. But basically, Rogue and Wolverine are on the run, trying to get away. The Gingineer has been called in because of these two rogue mutants, and he is hounding the leader of the magistrates to say, your interceptors will have to board the aircraft and see for themselves if they're there. That's a risky proposition, Dr. Moreau, which is interesting. I didn't mention this in the last issue, but the Gingineer, what his ability is he takes all the mutants and wipes them of their memories, etc., so forth, and then he restructures their DNA so that their mutant powers do whatever serves Genosha. So I just love the little note that this is an island. This is Dr. Moreau. If you guys know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. They're over international waters. That's as far as we can afford to let them go. I know my duty, Ginger. But it would be easier if you weren't set on taking them alive. I have my words. And so before they could turn this ship around, they board it, it explodes. And she's like, these ships are supposed to have fail-safes from being able to do that. But they do find out that even though they were kind of led on a wild goose chase, that means that the mutants are still on the island according to the. And then she goes on talking about how, and this is part of what happened during Fall of the Mutants, where they are pronounced dead, and I can never remember her name off the top of my head. The one that meets the X-Men when they died and went to the Siege Perilous. She made them invisible to scanners. And anytime their information is trying to be like ran on a police span or whatever, it's immediately wiped. So everyone's thinking spies. Like it's almost as though we're dealing with a pair of ghosts. Here are the results of the medical tests on the escaped prisoners, Gingineer. Sorry for the delay, sir, but we had to do everything by hand. None of the electronic analyzers would register the samples. And every time we tried to process data into our computers, the files erased themselves. And so they're thinking that this is an international war. And while we see what's really bumbling underneath the surface, then we get, of course, the propaganda. Genosha, our green and pleasant land. An infotape brought to you by the Ministry of Public Information. Ours is an island located off the East African coast, midway between Madagascar and the Chalets. Used originally for centuries as a haven for Indian Ocean corsairs and rumored to be one of the destinations of the Sinbad the Sailor's legendary voyages. It was settled during the Great Age of Exploration. The superb natural anchorage at Hammer Bay formed the foundation of our commerce and trade. That was our initial source of wealth, until the discovery of iron ore and other precious metals in the Ridgeback Mountains, which is processed into the finest steel available on Earth with an absolute minimum of pollution, and at a cost that cannot be beat. Over the years, Genosha has built an economy and society that is the envy of the world. There's no poverty, no hardship, and with unparalleled opportunities for education and employment, ours is a free land where people are judged by deeds and character and not by the color of their skin. And I love how Wolverine, even though he's dying, he goes, way you talk, Lady Genosha, is the answers to everybody's prayers. And who knows, maybe it is. Maybe this is the wave of the future. And before we can say any more, we see how the mutants are being used. We see this trash car coming along, and someone that has kind of like Reed Richards' powers dumping the trash. Hey, stupid Gene joke, watch it with that hose. You got me wet. Accident, boss. Apologies. Not good enough, mutie. Give it a rest, will you? Not till I get satisfaction. Teach this mutie a proper lesson. Clean this up, boy, every scrap. or I'll cite you for failure to perform your assigned job task function. Do my work good, boss. You watch, you see, make you proud. Ugh. You can see why Logan wants to burn this freaking place to the ground. Now, Carol, essentially what happens, we find out, is Wolverine, the way that they became a team is he saved her from Russia under very extraneous circumstances. So now she's essentially repaying the, what do you call it, the favor. And so she likes to hide in plain sight, hence why she struts her stuff, which, rogue. Anyway, they come into a magistrate bar, and everyone's like, outrageous, I think I'm in love. Rogue's got the brass for this kind of caper, but Carol Danvers has the experience to pull it off. This once, it's an asset. Rogue's a dual personality, and she's turned over operational control of her body to Carol. Ace is a world-class agent, and best for all of us, especially in this mess, she and I used to be a team. Now remember, the Gingineer's son, he's at this magistrate bar, and he's pissed to find out that his bride-to-be is actually a mutant. And what happened is her father was a high-ranking Genoshan official, swapped the files to try to save her. Well, the woman that went under the Gingineer's treatment died because she was just a human. So Jenny, that's why the whole thing kicked off with 235 now? 235, 366, yeah. So anyway, he's having a hard time taking it. Like, you've had enough, youngster. You heard the man. Bar's closed for you. This is our place, Civvy. You want to get stinking, find somewhere else. Thwack! I'll drink where I please, you rotten magistrates. Can't tell me what to do. So we see that he's really starting to see the bullshit of Genosha. And I love how Wolverine incites a fight just so that they can get new credentials and steal things within the battle. It is just one great wham after wham after wham. It's entertaining. Great stuff. Now, what kicks off in sort of the plot point of this whole issue is once the fight's over, these magistrates figure out that this is the Gingineer's son. Idea, mates. Fits the bill right perfect. Uh-oh. Meg has the gleam in her eye. Certain trouble, that's a fact. So what's the score? Beauty train leaves soon. I say we put this brat aboard. Beauty train. Could be nothing. I wouldn't bet on it. Kid dealt himself this hand. I know it's none of our business. Chalk it up to curiosity, Ace, and a hunch. So they trail him to the Beauty train. Now, one thing that's interesting, and I don't really understand here, is along with Ginny Ransom, they're also wanting to transform Madelyne into a mutate. And I don't understand why she's not registering as a human, because she is not a mutant. The only thing thus far is she's made a deal with Sim and I think Belasco. I forget how the Inferno arc goes, but real quick, speaking of, let me go back to 235 because I didn't touch on it last issue. I skipped over it. My brain just completely had a brain fart because it's such a blur. Let me see if I can find the last issue. And if I can't find it, we'll just scoot right around. But there's just so much information going on. Wow, was it that far back? Anyway, I can't find it. What's funny is the demons that speak to Madelyne find her through the computer networks. And there's a point where she's on the table before this. And I can't find it anywhere. But he goes, there you are. I've been looking for you. And she's kind of like half comatose and she smiles and she goes, later. Which shows that Madelyne's not worried about any of this. Because we're bonding this skin suit to your flesh. In effect, it becomes your skin. Moreover, it protects you from elements, injury. It's completely self-contained, totally reprocessing all bodily wastes. A marvel of engineering, really. I'm sure. But if this is a sealed system, what about children? Muties don't have any in the traditional way. Engineer extracts your genetic material and mixes and matches it with others to create the required biological synthesis. Now, this guy comes and goes, how deeply must I probe? He wants everything you can get. Stay out of my mind, telepath. If you resist, there will be pain. I'm warning you, leave me alone. And we see that Madelyne is starting to. The X-Men finally arrive. Now, I talked about last issue how living out in the Australian outback, they're all starting to get a little hardened like Wolverine. We see it with Storm saying, well, since you don't like me, I'm glad that this is going to hurt all the more. Elizabeth, go at him. The same thing where she wants to torture them after she finds out what Genosha is. The reason that I say this is after they take down the magistrates What does it say? These are not criminals, but policemen enforcing the laws of their country. We cannot afford to have witnesses to our arrival. And Peter, point blank, does that mean we kill them? Peter, of all people, Peter Rasputin, you're like, whoa, you can see what this life has done to him. But Storm, of course, trying to at least keep Xavier's dream alive, says, no, let's scramble their brains. Elizabeth, have at it. But right when Madelyne said, leave me alone, she gets psychic backlash. And then we cut back to the magistrate's area. And back then, I don't remember if in the 80s that the comic code was still around, but they were still kind of nervous about blood and guts and stuff. So the use of the light blues, the darks, purples, shadows, very dark blood reds, showing everybody that was in this engineer room has been. So we see that this is not the Madelyne Pryor that we know. And I just love that it's done in silhouette. It just adds more. It looks like it's something from Dark Horse. And Betsy is shook. She goes, I'm not certain at all that I want to find out what that was. Now we find out the mutant train. It's ran, obviously powered by mutant, kind of like how that trash truck was. They find the Gingineer's son. But what they didn't count on here is all these mutants that are on the train. It says, where is it? Not your place. Why don't you leave us alone? Appears to me, Ace, the Gingineer's hotshot conditioning process ain't what it's cracked up to be. Great, what do we do about it? And we can see that all these mutants are starting to team up on Rogue and Wolverine. And he goes, mutants, stay where you are. That light. And so they get discovered, essentially. He goes, you are luckier than you two deserve to be. Why do you think the directives forbids the riding of the M special in any less than squad strength? So Carol jumps in real quick. She goes, we had good reason. This is the Gingineer's son. Someone dressed him as a mutant and dumped him on board. Oh, well, that changes things. This is Philip Monroe. And so they're able to get off the M train. But in the background, while Wolverine's carrying this boy, it says, the magistrates represent the law. You don't ever raise your eyes to us. Must let your hands. You're bred to serve, Gene Joke. Understand? And when humans command, you obey. And this kind of sets Logan on edge, saying, I don't care if I live or die. Before I go, I want to make sure that this country is completely burned. Now, one last thing that I do want to point out here. Ginny Ransom. She finally finds out that she's a mutant. She's like, no, I tested. I was negative. And now, don't get me wrong. If I'm wrong, please tell me. But the way that I'm reading a lot of these things, like with mutants essentially kind of being this verboten type thing in a Genosha, and I tested, I was negative. I wonder if this was like, because I was too young to really process all this when I was a kid. But looking back at it now in 2025, I wonder if this was like y'all know what I'm trying to say, a nod, a social commentary to like AIDS. I'm wondering. If I'm wrong, let me know. But anyway, she goes, I tested normal on my exam. I'm sorry, Jenny, you tested positive. Your father abused his position in the government. She's like, I don't understand. And you can see how the Gingineer slowly gets more hardened against her. You have a responsibility to the community that bore and nurtured you, and a debt, and to the child who died in your place. But how can I have a mutant? I have no powers. Not active yet, but I can increase the way that it is expedited, essentially. This is slavery. Jennifer, ours is a nation of 10 million, almost totally dependent for its welfare on the work of a few hundred superpower mutants. Without them, we are nothing. And she goes, will I be a healer? Your progeny will be. But we need people mining for ore. So I'm going to make you essentially a slave to work in the coal mines, is essentially what he tells her. And as the conversation comes, you can see how he stops from calling her Jenny and how I looked forward to you being my daughter-in-law. And he goes, I'm truly sorry. I looked forward to you becoming my daughter-in-law. Technos, please collect me 9817 from my office for final processing. And we just see how Jenny's fate is sealed, and while her and her fiance Philip is just essentially going down a path of self-destruction. It is great reading, guys, but it is heavy. I'm glad that there are moments of levity, like the bar fight, that kind of helps make you go, whew. And Claremont always had a great way of doing that when we read X-Men, because there was some heavy shit that he would dive into. and then give you a moment to breathe. And this is an excellent issue in and of itself. Even if you don't want to read the rest of the X-Tinction Agenda, this is a great self-contained story with social satire that serves the story instead of feeling preachy. So if you've enjoyed what you've seen, please first and foremost support your local comic shop or wherever you like to get your action figures and comics, and either get the collected trade or the floppies. And like I did, if so, you can also support your local library. And if you've enjoyed this review, really would appreciate it if you take a moment to like, share, and subscribe. Helps the channel more than you could possibly know. And if you don't mind hitting that fancy little M bell next subscribe, that way we can upload content. You guys get notified. Come to the channel. We love talking with y'all and hearing your thoughts and feedback down in the comments or the socials, which I'll make sure the links down in the description. So with all that said, hope y'all continue to have an absolutely amazing day reading, and happy hunting, everyone.